Hello everyone, this is the Chungler here with the first part of my Fire Emblem Echoes Shadows of Valentia LTC playthrough. I uploaded some recordings from my most recent run on my channel that I just finished, but I wanted to do a fully recorded playthrough in order to show off things like village visiting, forging, dungeons, as well as any chapters I didn't upload. In this run, I'll be trying out a few different strategies just to keep things fresh for myself, but many parts of the route will be the same. I will rig a few level ups in this playthrough as I'm not playing on a 100% growth patch, but I don't think it's anything crazy. And in many cases, I think it's just to show off what I believe to be a more interesting strategy. I'm talking over the very start of the first map of the game. Should be pretty obvious why. Mycen is an unkillable god that slaughters everything, so he doesn't need much explaining, just messing with options here to make things go smoother in the later maps. I guess a few notable things about this. Mycen needs to attack Slade on turn 1. He doesn't need to kill him though he does end up doing so on a grave tile, which is kind of ridiculous. He has like 30 hit. Because Slade and the Cav on the right hand side will not suicide on enemy phase unless you attack them. So since there's only one player phase on there's only one Mycen on turn 1. This map is floored at 2 turns. Mycen hops on a grave tile and slaughters everything with near perfect hit rates, and that is the prologue completed in 2 turns. What? After the prologue, we jump forward in time for a few years where our villagers have all grown up, though as you'll see, some of their stats are disturbingly similar to their child counterparts. This is the first visit villaging segment in the game, where Alm goes on a spree of grand theft, stealing everything that's not nailed down. This is for the good of Valentia though, as we will need these things later to sell for some powerful items via forging. Though yeah, that's not for a pretty long time. So we're just gonna hoard every sack of flour and orange we can carry. We can also get quests in villages by talking to distraught townsfolk, which will be relevant in a lot of cases. Though in Ram Village we can't do any until after leaving and coming back for the first time, where we'll find a lady villager asking us to kill 20 brigands. We'll activate this quest with Alm and forget about it until an enterprising Celica will snatch up the reward in Act 2 after her pirate adventures are over. We're kind of a gimped version of a Seraph robe. We go visit Mycen's house, turns out he isn't here, we gotta go with Lucas, help out the deliverance, yada yada. Plot stuff. But once we get back, Tobin and Gray will join us automatically, though Celica, Faye and Cliff will need to be talked to join. They can join on Celica's route, though they are significantly worse there, so we'll take them instead. We kind of need them anyway, so now after a quick cut where I go back and get I activate the quest, we're going to start our first real map of the game, which is Ram Woods 1-1. Now let's talk about some of our units. We have Alm and Lucas with amazing combat who will weaken brigands for our other villagers. Our villagers are Gray, Tobin, Faye, and Cliff, and they all need varying degrees of experience. Every one of our villagers needs to hit level 3 by a certain point, though Tobin and Gray is already there, and Tobin is well on his way. Faye and Cliff are pretty bad at combat, so they need heavy spoon feeding, whereas Gray and Tobin are actually kind of competent on their own. Gray is pretty much as good as Lucas and Alm, really. Does slightly less damage. We have Cliff waiting at the entrance of the village to block the supply tile in the top left corner. That's so that all of the brigands don't go for the healing tile and instead suicide into us at less than half HP, which they wouldn't do normally. If that supply tile was open, they'd go run towards it. Yeah, this is just me trying to feed a kill to Cliff and Faye each, while Tobin clears up like 3 brigands in the top of the map for EXP. Tobin is doing this because he's our only real competent villager. Gray doesn't really need the EXP, and Tobin has sufficient combat stats to kill the brigands, while needing to get to level 5 before promoting for some extra stats. And his EXP window is very tight, so we'll let him clean up those brigands and complete Ram Woods in 2 turns. Now we're on to Fleecer's Forest. The starting positions for this map were lifted basically entirely from Karma's 0% growth LTC, so shout out to her for that. The brigands in this chapter see a fat juicy healing tile in the corner of the map that we can't block, unfortunately, so they won't suicide on their units at below half health like in the last map. This is pretty annoying, so we'll have to spend our player phase actions killing weakened brigands, and try and spend our enemy phase doing the weakening, which is the reverse from last map. Generally in maps where enemies have accessible healing, be an enemy healer or a tile, it's a good idea to spend player phase actions killing them off for obvious reasons, because otherwise you're going to have to do it eventually. There's an archer in this map who attacks from 1 to 3 range, so we definitely cannot defeat him on enemy phase. Though Gray will finish him over 2 rounds of combat perfectly, where he will not run to the healing tile because he's left with exactly half HP, which is really nice. Faye and Cliff gang up on a brigand here and take that out for some experience. We rig a speed level up on Cliff here for this map, as well as just long-term use in general. Cliff has a 60% speed growth as a villager, so it's not too bad. Tobin will have the duel of his life with this brigand in the bottom right corner, who he will kill over 3 rounds of combat. Because Tobin was placed in that deployment slot in the bottom right, the brigand ran over to him instead of going after like Lucas, who we really didn't want him to go after. Tobin crits here, which is pretty bad because he needs all the experience he can get, but it turns out that he just barely reaches level 5 with the boss kill of the next chapter, so that's still okay. Tobin's not going to do anything this turn, but usually he would just finish off the brigand that attacked him if he didn't crit. Cliff needed the speed level up to double this brigand, and exactly 1 rounds him after that. We are going to give this brigand kill to Faye, and she needs to either level up strength or speed. Either one is fine. And she levels up attack for us, so that's alright. And Gray will take out the last kill. Gray doesn't level up attack here, which would be his more important stat, but that's okay. It's not going to be super important. Either Tobin or Alm need to level up strength in this map. Since Tobin didn't get it, you can guess Alm will be leveling up strength after taking out the boss of the map, but he leaves it exactly half. It's a near perfect level up, actually.
Somehow.
And that is Fleecer's Forest completed in 3 turns. Now our next segment is going to be a dungeon segment, and these are a pretty weird thing that's pretty exclusive to Shadows of Valentia and Gaiden. Dungeons have roaming enemy spawns. In this shrine, it's brigands, and we really don't want to fight any of them right now because they cost us turns. They're not required encounters, so and they usually don't make up for it with the experience they give. At least not right now. Later in the run, we can utilize some cool tricks to get a lot of experience out of one fight. But in this particular dungeon, we're going to run over to the Iron Sword and the left-hand side, and then evacuate because we have a bunch of angry brigands chasing us. I'm going to give the Iron Sword to Faye for the next map. She needs it to do as much damage as possible since she didn't level up speed. Her having the Iron Sword is really important. I'll explain when it's... I'll explain right now. So if you weaken an enemy in Shadows of Valentia, the amount of experience you get is based on how much damage you do. And with the Iron Sword, Faye will do more damage, which is exactly... she really needs that extra damage to get enough experience to get to level 3 and promote. So that's why she has the Iron Sword, and why Alm or Tobin need to level up strength, so that they can handle the boss of the chapter without the Iron Sword. Because it is occupied by Faye. Lucas and Cliff are pretty self-sufficient on the left-hand side, though Cliff did need that speed level up from last chapter to kill the brigand that Lucas weakens for him. Alm attacks the brigand boss on enemy phase, and in 2 rounds of combat will bring him low enough for Tobin to get the kill. Faye will get some enemy phase experience, which is required for her to level up, though she ends up critting anyway, so she will be actually kind of well over her experience benchmark, but without the crit she'd have around 3 EXP to spare, so very tight. Gray would have attacked that brigand if Faye didn't crit, so I just placed him there to show that he would have done that. Faye now gets to promotion level, and everyone else is just finishing off their particular brigands. Tobin, because he crit in the last map, actually gets to exactly the amount of experience he needed for level 5. This is just for extra stats. We want as many chances for Tobin to level up as possible, because it possibly saves us a speed shrine well, though he only levels up speed once, unfortunately, in his 3 level ups for us. So he will still have to get 1 speed well to get to 8 speed. And that is the Brigand boss fight completed in 2 turns. Now we have our first Milla statue, which will allow us to promote all 4 of our villagers. Though first we have to recruit Silk, who is a healer with really bad combat, but learns a really important spell called Warp at level 7, so she needs to get fed kills despite having a really inaccurate spell, though it actually does quite a bit of damage because enemy res is like non-existent. Faye is going to be our first promotion into Cleric. This is pretty important for her because she needs to learn Physic at level 6 to just make things easier on us, so she needs to get fed kills until level 6, where she needs to get to before the end of the act. And then she also learns Rescue at level 10, which she will get hopefully around Act 4, which is, it's going to be very useful there. So she still needs to get fed some kills. Her healing won't be enough to get her to level 10 and level 6 respectively. Tobin is going to class change into Mage because he's our villager with the highest base speed, and Fire weighs down mages by 3, meaning that Tobin will have now 4 AS after his level up, and after a Speedwell, he will have 5 AS, doubling all of the soldiers in 1-4, the southern outpost, which will be the map after the next one here. Cliff promotes to Archer and gets Archer base strength, which is pretty nice. And with 4 speed, that's why we rigged his level ups, he will double all the enemies in the next map and has a chance of doubling enemies in the map after that, as well as needing to meet a pretty demanding speed threshold at around the end of Act 3. Gray will promote to Mercenary because he's really our only villager left and we need a Mercenary, even though Gray isn't very good at it. He's okay at it. Cliff is better, but we need Cliff to be an Archer, so Gray will take on the Mercenary job happily. Yeah, like I said, Speedwell is going to Tobin. We could have avoided using this Speedwell if we rigged a second speed level up on in Tobin's 3 levels, but his growth is kind of bad, so I didn't want to do that because that'd be a little bit cheesy. And we're okay on Speedwells. We're going to save one for another Alm route unit, and then we're going to save another for Celica's route just in case she needs it, though she might not, meaning it could theoretically go to waste, but we need some insurance there, so never a bad thing. Anyway, that will be the end of Thief Shrine, and I will see you guys next time in the next part of my Echoes Shadows of Valentia LTC. Thank you.